for being here, Jakub, and thank you so much for joining us for the Q&A, and same to Klaudiusz. So, as you know, these Q&As start off with me asking a couple of questions to both Klaudiusz and Jakub, and then hopefully you will have enough time to ask all your questions and to get to stick to the bottom of whatever you need to ask, both of them. First of all, Klaudiusz, I wanted to ask you about a very simple question. Why did you decide to explore those particular themes, and where it all began? Yeah.
Okay. Good evening. Thank you for coming and watching our film. And I would like to thank the festival for inviting us. It's a pleasure. You know, it's my first time in Ireland, in Dublin, so we are enjoying it very much. So, and coming back to your question, why? That's the very difficult question, I guess, after a few years. But one of the aspects why I decided to make this movie and why I decided to make it on this remote Scottish island is because I used to live in Scotland. After high school, I moved there. At the beginning, I moved only for the summer, but then I decided to stay for a whole year. And I applied for university in London, so I moved, and then I spent on the whole like 5 years in Great Britain. So a couple of years ago, when I was thinking about a next movie, about making another movie, I came back to those memories of Scotland. You know, I remember the time when I discovered Shetlands on the map, and I always wondered how is it there. You know, how is to live on such a remote place, how it works. And then my father passed away, you know, and the idea for a movie about dealing with loss and moving forward came to me, and I kind of connected those two things. This amazing place, which is on the edge of the world, and the inner life of a character who got to the edge. Or some kind of the edge, you know, of his own life, you know. And I realized that it would be amazing to connect those two things, and that would be a great scenery for such a story, which hopefully gonna create kind of metaphor, you know. And obviously, what I'm looking in the film is an adventure, so throwing my character into this location, into those elements, you know, seemed like a good idea.
And did you visit Shetland before you made the movie? After finding it on the map, did you make it before?
Not really, you know. We only visited, you know, for pictures, for phone calls, for stories that we got from the people we called. So it was intense, you know, and kind of stressful because, you know, you're throwing yourself on the adventure to the place you've never been to. But I kind of thought that maybe it's good because that puts me in the same shoes as my characters, you know. And we talked with Kuba about this idea that would it work? I mean, how would it work if we were a documentary crew, you know, and suddenly we spotted a man with a backpack, you know, who goes. He's not sure, you know, where he's going, and what would happen if we followed him, you know? So that was in the core of the whole idea as well.
Jakub, how did you get involved with the movie? Because your involvement is twofold. You're the main character and you're the actor of it, but you're also producing the movie. So, which came first, or was it both together, and how it all happened?
Yeah, I'm one of the producers. Yeah. The other one is Klaudiusz, and we also have Mad Ants. That's a company based in Warsaw that is also producing this film. And for me, it was kind of a different kind of adventure in entering a project, because here I was there from the beginning, from this idea. And normally, you know, I get a script and I get a character and I try to, you know, somehow make it come alive. And here we started with the character, and then we started to create the story. I mean, it was kind of a simultaneous thing, but still it was a bit different, and that's how, because we were both, I mean, it was Klaudiusz's idea, he kind of invited me into this idea and into this world, but we started working on it together, and this is how it naturally went, as, you know, for me to be so-called producer, you know what I mean? It's like probably some kind of executive producer on that, or, but this is the official title, that I'm the producer. One of the producers.
Last night we spoke a lot about accessing emotions and finding emotional truth in your characters, and I think you succeeded so beautifully in this movie to convey those emotions and the trajectory or the narrative of the character arriving there, and Bartek, you know, going through the emotions. How was it for you, and what was the work like on this character?
So yeah, as I said, it was a bit different this time, because we were thinking about the character first, and you know, I was trying to understand what it means to you know, for me, it was a character that was looking for something, and basically for some kind of ulga, maybe, you know, relief, or some kind of relief, you know, some kind of answer. And I remember telling Klaudiusz that I think he should, you know, look like he's looking for something all the time, you know, almost in every scene, like, you know, when you're looking for keys or something at your apartment, and then I was trying to understand what, you know, that there's something that's pulling him towards this, let's say, truth, and he doesn't really know what it is, but still he's searching, and you know, I believe that when someone from your family passes away, even if it's the, you know, I remember when my grandparents passed away, I could feel this big shift going on in my family, that's somehow, you know, someone else is now in charge, you know what I mean, and there's a burden to that, and there's also a relief to that, you know, there's so many things, and I thought that he doesn't understand those things, but he can sense them in a way, you know, being somewhere around the corner. And you know, through being there and trying to find our scenes that we prepared earlier, I mean, Klaudiusz prepared earlier with the script, we discovered new things, and we improvised some scenes, you know, and this is how basically this character and this film happened, you know, emerged.
And Klaudiusz, there is this beautiful quote at the beginning of the movie about, you know, finding a harbour and perhaps taking a beat or taking a breath to, you know, ground yourself in a way. But Ultima Thule was the last place, the furthest away land that's furthest away. Do you think that, you know, some people, or maybe all of us, should get away the furthest possible to find ourselves? What is the magic of that getting away from it all?
Okay,
to try to get closer to who you are, because that's also interesting, because we spoke yesterday about Hans trying to find, or all of us trying to find out who we are, and then once again there's this theme here of how do you find who you are?
Well, I think it can help. Maybe it's not for everyone, but in my opinion it can help as long as there is a balance to it, you know, as the character of Magnus says, you know, you cannot get lost, you know, because you're gonna forget about the world you're coming from, you know, which is obviously big part of yourself. And I think if there's a right balance, that can help. It's easier to look at your life from a distance, you know, and the big journey helps you to, for a moment, obviously take a rest from your everyday life, you know, and from matters the most to you in everyday life. But as I said, you cannot, you gotta be careful, you know. And I think it's not necessary about the long journey, because this long journey can be even in your own house. You know, you can close the door and shut off your phone and spend some time just only with yourself. But as long as it's not for too long, because I think it's quite easy to get used to being alone, you know, and there is a danger to that, because you get so comfy that no one bothers you, and you kind of on your own. But probably, you know, you can, as I said, and again, get a little bit lost.
And I think we see glimpses of Bartek, the character, seeking warmth. And I think when he approaches the community centre, let's call it that, and there's music there, and slowly and surely he gets involved with it. I think there is this moment of him going back from the very furthest retreat to kind of trying to find some connection, right?
Yes, I think that's his one of the main conflicts, you know. On one hand, he wants to go as far as possible, but you know, from time to time we can see that he kind of want to get close, you know, the cupcake, he needs someone, you know, or he decides to open a little bit towards Magnus, and then obviously he goes to the school, but once he, you know, there's always this conflict in him, you know. On the one hand, he wants to get close to some people, on the other, he wants to get separate.
Before we get to your questions, I just wanted to ask you about one particular scene that I found very affecting, which is the scene when he goes deep into the ravine, and he goes further and further and further, and then obviously finds Cupcake dead. What could you tell us a little bit about that scene, about what you wanted to convey through it? And because I think it's like this pivotal moment when, yeah.
Yes, so obviously we found this place. Well, I heard about this place through the process of documenting the whole thing before we got there, you know. And I knew, you know, it's necessary I felt that it's necessary to use this place, and it kind of connects to this very hard word now. Archetypical journey of a hero. You know, at some point he has to go deep within himself. You know, to face his demons. And obviously, when he finds this dead, I don't know, maybe Cupcake or not, because obviously at the end we see Cupcake again. You know, he faces the thing that pushed him out out of his home. You know, this fear that he's guilty, basically. You know.
Jakub, what was it like to be there on one of the Shetland? It was Fula, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. On Fula, and what was it like rearing sheep for a while and handling sheep and becoming a sheep shearer? Because they don't teach that in drama school, do they?
No, sometimes they ask you to pretend sheep or other animals,
oh,
yeah. But no, they don't teach you how to treat them.
You seemed like a natural, so.
Well.
What's the behind the scenes like?
Yeah, it was actually very cool.
Stop it. Months of preparation. Yeah. That's what you're supposed to say. Months of preparation.
Yeah. I took a course.
Method acting.
Yeah.
Became a sheep shearer, Daniel Day-Lewis style.
Yes, exactly. And it was actually kind of cool. I mean, in the sense of us being there as a small crew and trying to participate in this lifestyle and helping Magnus, our film character Magnus, in his work that he's really doing on this island, and it was just, you know, part of this journey. It was quite fun, actually. I felt pretty good, you know. I mean, in that way that you know, I try to just, you know, be there, follow the character, try to remember the relationship I have with the camera as well, you know, and how does that go, because we're in this documentary style thing, you know, and it's easy to slip off the, let's say, you know, the right tone and just be there. And yeah, I hope I make sense with what I'm saying right now. And it was just for me all the time. I was thinking about basically about the father, let's say, you know, this kind of ghost, you know, that's somewhere there. That the island symbolizes the father, and the sheep symbolizes in a way the father. I mean, Cupcake, and also what's inside of Bartek and the thing. So I was all the time looking for that. Also because, as I was saying, I was trying to, you know, look for things for Bartek, you know. So it was a really good, nice experience in that way, physically and mentally. It was a bit of a challenge, but also a beautiful journey. You know.
Thank you. Are there any questions from our audience? Yes, there's the first one, and then there's the second one, and there's the third one. So we've got 3 already. You will just have to speak up a little bit, because we don't have a microphone for you.
Yeah. So first off, bardzo dobra robota, and I really related to that movie, and just like going out to the wilds, like putting yourself off from the world and stuff. But also, were the people in the community centre school actual like islanders, like actual settlers there, and how was their response to you making a movie in there? Like, how was the community response to your movie there?
Yes, they were the islanders, you know, and this scene basically represents how they were towards us, because we got invited, you know. I had a scene like that in mind, you know, but at one day, I think we mentioned, like, at the beginning that we were asking, because I knew they, from time to time, they gather, they play music, you know, and at some point we got invited to basically a birthday party, you know. So I think that represents how they treated us. They were very warm and helpful, you know. We didn't want to bother them too much, because I think, you know, there are reasons why people choose this kind of life, you know, and I think they don't want to be bothered, you know, if it's not necessary, so we didn't try to bother them. But then again, there are only 30 people living on this island, so even though it's 12 square kilometers, you know, 30 people can kind of, they don't necessarily have to meet if they don't want to, you know, it's not that many. So I don't think we were too much of a burden to them.
Yeah, and then they just to try to answer the question, they invited us. You know, we can come and we can join the party, and we asked, of course, yeah, but can Bartek come and the camera? And they said yes, of course. And this is how we ended up making the scene.
Yeah, but we didn't try to fool anyone saying that, you know, it's a documentary and we're just gonna be there with this guy, you know. They were aware that he's a character, you know, but we just asked that if they could treat him as just an average guy, yeah, the stranger who appears.
But it's also true that we did some scenes talking to people, and not every scene, of course, that we shot is in the movie. So there were a couple of moments where actually, because before every conversation, I would tell them, listen, I'm an actor, and this is our character, and you know. But after shooting a bit and being there, they got confused every time, and they were telling me that how sorry they are about the loss, you know. And I after a while I just stopped, you know, writing them. No, how do you say? You know, correcting them, yeah. Because it was useless, you know. But yeah, we were not trying to be too artificial and try to say, oh, this is Bartek. They knew why we were there.
And have you shown the film in Thule?
Well, no, we haven't had the chance yet.
Okay,
so
yeah. Do you think that you'll be able to go back and maybe go to the school and?
Maybe we'll see. You know, at this moment we have this kind of big tour around the different places, and obviously season has changed now because it's winter, and you know it's all about the weather on Thule, you know, because it's not easy to get there, especially in the winter time. So you know we'll see how it goes.
Hopefully. There was a question there from a man at the back.
I wanted to ask about Magnus. I want to ask like where he comes from, or what he comes out of, something like that. It kind of relates to the first question.
Yeah, he's from Shetland, you know, and the character was was inspired by a real person in terms of what he does, you know, and his Shetland ways, you know. I mean, but all kind of the. So that was inspired by the real person, but obviously the relationship with Bartek, you know, and what he has to say, that in a way comes from a real person, but as we mentioned, you know, he knew he was dealing with a character, you know, and obviously there was acting involved, you know. He wouldn't really get angry at Kuba because the sheep got lost or anything like that. That was all part of the script and so on. But he's a real 100% Shetlander.
So he's not a trained actor. Sorry.
No, he's not.
Oh, wow.
He's an islander, one of the islanders, and he was just agreed, you know, to be Magnus.
He just has such a beautiful presence in the movie, and I presume he's got a beautiful presence in life. But he's found his truth. That's for sure. It comes across as either Magnus or the guy who played him found his truth. You know.
Yeah. This is the thing that you have to navigate in a way when you act with people that are not actors, that you have to try to navigate to. You know, it's really easy to look stupid in front of those people in the eye of the camera. So you know, we would have the scenes together, conversations, and we would try different things. And he was just amazing, almost as amazing as Cupcake, you know.
There was a third question there at the back.
Just a general question, really. I managed to see 4 of the films in this weekend's festival, and I don't know if it was just a happy accident or if it was just my choices, but 3 of the 4 of them seem to be about men who, in the course of the film, we see a period in their lives when they are forced by trauma or an event to come up sharply and face to face with themselves. And I just wondered if that is a preoccupation at the moment of Polish cinema, or indeed of Polish contemporary culture, as far as you think.
I can't really say, you know, because the films I try to make, they come basically from some kind of personal spot, and it's inspired a little bit by my own my own life, but just inspired, you know. It's not autobiographical or anything like that. So really, I can't speak for the whole community, but because it's personal, you know.
Yeah, I had this a similar conversation just like 3 days ago in Poland, during an interview, and it's really true that the interviewer, she said, because I don't feel like I can really answer your question, but she said something about the fact that that there's really like a strong, you know, feminine voice also being raised in Poland, and a lot of female characters and in movies and so on and so forth. And she said something very interesting, that to her it looks like there's this time in a way for men to show their struggle and their emotions in a way, or to paraphrase her whole you know, what she said. So maybe there's something to it, you know. Maybe there's something, or there's a time where now that you know that maybe some obvious things that we think about men, you know, and their like emotional life and inner life. Maybe there's time to point that out a bit, to talk about that a bit more, and you know, and I think that maybe in a way our movie is also a little bit about that.
Yeah, I can maybe add that for me it's a little bit interesting, and your question kind of brings this out, that throughout the film school, most of I think all of the short films I made, they involved female character, the main character in my movies. And maybe because, you know, it's the feature debut, you know, I decided I tried this thing, and because I believe that I wanted to try this idea that if I make something that comes from inside of me, something personal, I hope that it can, you know, the audience can relate, because at the end of the day, I think we have more in common than not, you know. But my other scripts, you know, in the scripts I have now that I'm planning for the future, 2 out of 3 they are about the main female characters.
Yeah, I wasn't making a gender point.
Yeah.
I was more interested in the trauma.
Sure.
The idea of a human being.
Is there anybody else? Yes, please.
Hi, thanks so much for the film. I really loved it. It just reminded me why I love cinema so much. Thank you. I wanted to ask 2 questions about Cupcake. Was Cupcake in the screenplay, and did you have to cast for you know, or just did appear there and you decided to put it there? And also about the wind, because when I hear the wind, I could hear the wind all the time. Was it like a natural sound, or did you like put an effort to just put it in there so to create this atmosphere?
Yeah, so Cupcake, we've seen hundreds of sheep. No, the idea was there that the character is supposed to befriend an animal, but I remember when we were traveling to Thule, I thought it would rather involve like a group of sheep, you know, that they are at the beginning they are afraid of him, and then he kind of has to make an effort to get closer to them. But then a little bit by accident, we discovered Cupcake, who had a similar story to Bartek, basically, because Cupcake is an orphaned sheep and was raised by human, and therefore it's you know, very she's not afraid, you know, and behaved a little bit like a little house dog, you know. And it was wonderful because we could Cupcake basically repeated takes, you know, we could do the same thing over and over again and she would respond to that. So that was this kind of surprise and gift from Faith, I guess. And in terms of wind, yeah, so it involves both, you know. There was because the wind changes a lot on Thule, so our Jerzy Szelewicz, our sound person, you know, recorded everything, and then during the post-production we added some winds as well, because we wanted the whole nature, the wind, the ship to create its kind of own soundtrack, the music of this place. And there comes the music composed by Wojtek Frycz, you know. We wouldn't like the composed music to disturb the nature, you know. We try to just to make them both go in balance, you know.
Is there anyone else?
Just a question, technicality. Were you on the island throughout the entire shooting? Was the entire crew on the island? How did you manage with 30 islanders? Where did you sleep?
Well, basically, I always say that we were a little bit like one with the character, because we slept in the same house, the house he painted, you know. It's 100-year-old house, you know, that you have to cover in lime, every year or something like that, for 100 years from what I remember. So we got close as a crew, and it was a tiny crew, like documentary style crew, because there was a camera operator, sound person, actor, and a director. That was basically it, you know. So obviously it created some difficulties. We had to cook for ourselves, you know. We had to help ourselves carrying everything all together. But on the other hand, it created this atmosphere of freedom, and the creativity could take place as nowhere else, I guess.
Actually, I have a question. did you guys have actually electricity in the house?
From time to time, yes. From time to time.
Start trying to imagine, the feeding batteries.
Yeah, so we had this generator that we could switch on from time to time to basically recharge batteries and drop the footage, on hard drives, and but we would basically do what Bartek says in terms of heat. We would heat with the pit.
The peat. Yeah, we would have to do that every day to keep it warm in the house.
Yes.
It was pretty, but then in the evenings as well, we were able to watch the dailies because we were in this cozy kitchen, where during the day Cupcake would pee on the floor, during the scene, and then we would eat at the table, and we were, as Klaudiusz said, we were all in it together.
Yeah, and the hot water bottles were very essential as well.
To
a couple of them into your sleeping bag,
It really all sounds like summer in the west of Ireland or in Donegal. So I think for some people here, at least, it might sound familiar. Line render and electricity cutting out from time to time, and all of that. I think there might be people here who survived that. I wanted to ask about, by the way, you mentioned documentary style, and Klaudiusz, I believe that you have experience in making documentaries, right? You've had a successful documentary before. Could you tell us a little bit about that, actually, because that's interesting that you brought that style into your debut feature film.
Yes, so I made this documentary called Call Me Tony about 18-year-old bodybuilder who wants to be an actor. And we kind of observe his last year of high school, when he prepares for his final exams, his first bodybuilding competition, and exams for drama school. And because this character was so fascinated with movies, action movies, Scarface, and Terminator, and he looked up to those characters, we wanted to make this film as if it looked like a feature fiction film, basically, in terms of technicalities, the documentaries often people can connect them with shaky camera running about characters, and feature fiction films, there's always light involved, more, that's obviously, I put it really simply right now, but we want it to look like a fiction film, And after we made it, so it looks like through his eyes, that he's a part of fiction film, he's one of the characters he loves. And after few screenings, I got some people who would tell me that they didn't realize it was a documentary, They would be like, we had this big scene of bodybuilding competition with hundreds of bodybuilders, and people ask me, how did you get all these people involved, and so on and so on. And
how did you get the budget for all the for all the
like, what do you
background
mean?
artists?
Yeah, and I was like, what do you mean? We just went there. It's a documentary, and that made me realize that this line between the documentary and fiction can be. It's blurry, and it can be crossed in very interesting ways,
Isn't it interesting that Jakub mentioned that line when people stopped or didn't believe him that he was in character, and kept saying that this line between fiction and real life and fiction. When you were doing the documentary, people didn't believe you. When you were doing a fictional film, people might not have believed you either, right?
Yes.
Or believed you too much.
Yes, and I wanted to explore that, because I think it was really interesting, because life can surprise us, and when you make a film, documentary throws at you those random scenes that you think that, oh my god, how I'm gonna connect all these dots, but then in the editing room you do it, and the result is even more interesting than you can imagine. So I'm really interested in doing that, and we're gonna explore that again. I can say
tell us more.
Can we tell more?
Yeah, I just wanted to add to what you were saying, that basically this is also the reason why I got involved in the first place. And I know Klaudiusz now for 14 or 13 years, and I've seen his film, and I know him, his let's say way of looking at the world as a filmmaker, let's say. And I also think that's very interesting, this line and this experimenting with this line. I mean, I'm all the time looking for different things in different genres in movies and characters, in terms of also, because I think it's not always about the character, but it's also it's about the vision, how the film is supposed to be shot and things like that, and I think that this is a very interesting approach, you know, to try to you know, for example, be a character among real people, you know, and stuff, for me from the actor's point of view, and so on. And now that's why we decided to explore that more, and we want to work on another film together.
Okay. I don't want to push you too far. So
coming soon.
Okay, and hopefully coming to Dublin as well. For me, what you mentioned there about, you know, reality and fiction, and we spoke about the truth and finding the truth, the emotional truth, and it's kind of this narrative or that line that I think is, you know, how do you find the truth, and what is the truth, and how can we find it, and how can we find it within ourselves. My last question is, how do you find your own noise? That's a big question. How do you find your own noise in life, Jakub?
My own noise, you mean in my own voice?
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know really. I think it's a struggle, you know. I think it's beautiful, of course, life, but also I think it's a struggle, you know. From the first moment you come to this earth, you know, and you try to make your way through it, you know. You try to make sense of it, out of it, and you try to be happy, but also try to be there for other people, or try to, you know, because you're so scared of death, as we both are. That's why we want to, you know, leave something, you know, keep something alive in the terms of a movie. So I just think I'm trying, I'm working, I'm trying, you know, I'm trying different things. I'm trying to be truthful to myself, you know, and this is in a way, it's every day about looking for my voice. I think that's the way I would answer it right now, you know, this question.
Klaudiusz, do you think that you have found your are you closer to finding your noise? And did you have a separate noise for the sheep?
No, I don't think I've, because, you know, the Bartek done all the job, did all the work, you know. Once he got them into the shed, you know, we didn't have to try to find our own noises. But I agree with Kuba, you know. I think you gotta keep on trying, basically, you know, and stay focused on the job and on doing, maybe, rather than expecting, you know. But these are obviously, you know, who knows, at the end of the day, we are all trying, and I think maybe it's not necessary about, maybe we cannot really find it, you know, like 100%, you know, and it's all about, you know, pushing yourself and getting closer, but never till the end, you know.
So thank you for trying, and thank you for trying to find the voice, because through it we got this beautiful movie that I'm sure that all of you enjoyed. I certainly did, and thank you so much for coming here, coming to Dublin, braving the winds, braving the storms, being with us, and bringing, in the case of Kuba's, two very interesting and very different movies, which also, for the people who saw both of them, probably was an added bonus to see you in two different guises like that. And Klaudiusz, thank you so much for exploring those liminal spaces and for exploring such important topic as grief and trying to get through it, because that touches all of us. Thank you, all of you, for coming, for staying for the Q&As, for being here, for supporting Kinopolis, and also a massive, massive, massive thank you to all the organizers, obviously Kevin and all the IFI crew, Nicola and crew from the Polish Embassy, Tracy Solicitors, Arts Council, and thank you to everyone who spoke to me, all the artists, all the directors. It was a pleasure and a privilege, and thank you all for bringing your films here, because for the Polish community here, it's really, really important and really touching that we are able to be here and to watch those movies and to speak to you, sometimes to speak in Polish, sometimes speaking in English, but it is something that I think is very important to me, but I believe that it's important to all of us. So thank you, dziękuję serdecznie, dobranoc, and thank you.
Thank you very much. Dziękuję bardzo.